And where's my lines? Oh, there they are. Hey, everybody, welcome back to Behind the Joystick. I'm your host today, Cordy Yikes, and I'm here with George. How are you today?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, anytime, anytime. For viewers who might not know who you are, what do you do, and who are you?
Right now I'm the operations coordinator and talent recruiter over at Commerce University Esports for their esports program. I also do a couple different things from being a title manager for Counter Strike 2 for NECC. I work with an organization called Carolina Gaming as well as their marketing program manager. We actually just figured out that title for me yesterday.
Nice.
But yeah, no, I do anything from like partnerships and activations to like right now I'm actually working to activate the local CDL franchise team, the Carolina Royal Ravens, over to different colleges
Nice.
around the Carolinas. So do a little bit of everything there, and I also host a podcast there for them called the Echoes Podcast, where we highlight leaders and people and personalities around the Carolinas that are involved in gaming and esports.
Nice.
Um, yeah,
That's really cool. How did you get started in all of this? Was it in college? Was it in high school?
it was actually I was in middle school actually.
Oh, really? That's
Yeah, I was a
awesome.
youngin. Probably about I want to say 2013. I want to say was when I found out what esports really was.
Mhm.
I come from Call of Duty. That's where I started out. So back with the grassroots scene over there, I think I came across like a video on YouTube from Optic Nade Shot, which is
Yes.
like now the owner of 100 Thieves. But it was a video where he was just kind of talking to some kids who were like playing ranked with him in Black Ops 2. And the kids would not believe that he was Optic Nade Shot. Like they did not believe him at all. They thought he was using a voice changer.
Right.
And I guess it was that video, and I'm like, what is this optic thing? What is this? Who's Nate Shot? Who are these people? Um, so I got to researching there. Then I started playing amateur leagues in Call of Duty. Um, Made a couple bucks there, and then from there, Call of Duty aged everyone under the age of 18 out. I was 17 when that happened.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
so I was a little mad about that, but that said, it allowed me the opportunity to go behind the scenes and do management and that sort of thing. So I started doing content creation and general management, stream management, just kind of like a little bit of everything that encompasses kind of marketing
Mhm.
for tier two organizations in Call of Duty. And eventually translated that into Counter Strike. And then, yeah, in 2020, then I started collegiate esports as a player again, and then student leader, and now we're here.
That's awesome. So, like, what would your day-to-day role be for, like, operations coordinator and, like, a recruiter?
Yeah, so my role, a lot of people actually like ask me about this because it's funny. My role with Converse is actually part time. It's not a full time role.
Mhm.
So my day to day kind of looks a little bit different every day. Usually what ends up happening is I also work as an IT person doing consulting. So kind of
Sick.
like my mornings, yeah, that's how I make my money. I think everybody in esports kind of knows you're in it for the passion, not the money.
Yeah.
But no, in the mornings I get up and I do my consulting business up until about like I want to say 2 p.m. From there I get on the Converse work, whether that be taking meetings, talking to recruits, messaging recruits, planning events, sending emails, kind of just talking to people about our esports program. A lot of what I do has to do with like outreach more than anything. That's kind of what my role has shifted to a lot is talking to potential recruits and doing outreach for the program, finding sponsors, finding activations that I can bring back to the students. Um, I do work with the teams from time to time. For example, like this weekend, we're traveling out to a LAN over in Florence, South Carolina for a conference championships.
That's awesome.
So at times like that, I get to travel with the students and watch them win, support them, figure out what they need, that sort of deal. Yeah. Then in terms of that, after that, my day goes to NECC. I am like the title manager for the Counter Strike 2 competition. So Kind of just handling regular season tickets, figuring out what teams need, moving competition along, solving any sort of disputes or rulings, whatever that may be. That usually takes a good part of my day. After that, I like to take a break. Lately, I've been streaming. The new Call of Duty came out, so
All right, so
been
you're addicted.
yeah, yeah. I've been grinding. I streamed for about like 3 hours after that. And then from there, whatever Carolina gaming stuff is going on, I usually get on, whether it be a meeting or lately talking to colleges about the Royal Ravens and seeing who I can activate where and that sort of thing. So it's an action packed day for sure, but I enjoy my day to day. It's always something different and something new. Esports is never the same, especially
For
college
sure.
esports where I mostly like work within. It's, I mean, we call it the wild wild west, and that's for a reason.
I mean, it really is if you think about it. Time and time I keep saying this, that it started from, like, just a group, maybe a club, and now it's all the way to, like, there's colleges that have arenas, and there's esports competitions like in the
Hmm.
space, and it feels like it's just kind of blossomed within like the last 5 years. So for it to be, something when you started college to be a group to now it being this kind of thing that people still don't know where it's going. It's kind of like it's really eye opening to really see
Hmm.
how it's became for sure. What would you say in like the next 5 years the wild west of college esports is going to be?
I I don't. That's like a good question because it's unpredictable, right? Like that's
Right.
kind of where I've been with it. It's very unpredictable. I think it could go a couple different ways, just depending on how we organize as a space. There could be like the standardizing of practices, protocols, and procedures. That's something that's very much needed in
Mhm.
college esports. In order for that to happen, though, we need a unification of a lot of these like different bodies. I mean, right now we have about three different like main league sanctioning like bodies with conferences and all that jazz. Everyone has their own different like goals, procedures, regulations. When it comes to competition, they're all like generally the same, but in terms of what
Mhm.
their goals are for the schools that belong in them, it's vastly different. Whether like they're focused on membership and development of that, or they're focused solely on competition, or maybe it's a mix, right? So it's
Right.
always a little bit different with them. So I'd love to see them kind of like standardize and unify themselves in order to present a more united front. I think it's very much known that the NCAA is not going to get involved in esports anytime soon.
For sure.
That's probably not happening for at least 20 years, in my opinion.
Mm.
So, with that said, I think the space needs to unify itself and stop presenting us this wild wild west and present us a unified front that can actually stand professionally. So that's something that I'd like to see. However,
Oh,
I
for sure.
also know the pessimist in me. um I don't know if I see that happening in the next 5 years. I think I'd more give it a 10-year timeline where in 5 years we're still figuring stuff out. um just even when I entered the collegiate space in 2020, I mean, it was very like similar to honestly how it is now, of people still figuring it out. Back then we had TESPA, so that was kind of a fun time to at
Mm.
least have them to help out with some things. But they mainly helped a lot of the clubs, which at the time I was a part of. When it comes to the programs, it's like vastly different, and um it's way more high stakes in my opinion, and with that also comes a lot of people who have different opinions, different tastes in what they want. Every school has a different goal, so it's just really hard to unionize everyone, and I'd love to see that happen within the next 5 years, but we'll see.
Yeah, right. Fingers crossed. Would you say that this would probably be like a challenge for you in like the esports space, or like what would you say is like most challenging to you in the collegiate space?
I think the most challenging thing is navigating around the personalities that are involved in the space. There's,
Mm.
like I said, I mean, like everyone has different goals, everyone has different personalities, everyone comes from schools who have different goals. So when you mix that into like a hodgepodge of things, I mean, it's a melting pot within itself of just trying to figure things out for everybody and finding a common space where everyone's goals, needs, and expectations are met.
For sure.
So I think that's the most like challenging thing is there's starting to be more communication, for example, with organizations like Voice, that have come in to kind of help start those like lines of communication between conferences, between leaders, between directors, between university leaderships of schools who have different goals. So like there's organizations that have started looking at solving some of these issues,
Mhm.
but it's going to take time. I mean, especially when you talk about public versus private, D1, D2, D3, like everyone's so different in the space that's involved, and because there's no real like hierarchy or like ladder, if that makes sense, in
Mhm.
terms of classification, and everyone's kind of on the same playing field, it becomes really tough to standardize the space, and as such, yeah, I think that's the toughest part is getting everyone to compromise. I guess is the best way to put it.
For sure. So, instead of like all these bad things, and like the roughs that we have going on, what would you say is like your milestones or what you're like most proud of in the esports space?
I think I'm someone who has come from us renting like little hotel conference rooms to run grassroots tournaments and now arenas, and like I went to the League of Legends Spring Finals a year ago, and there was the whole like PNC arena in Raleigh that was like thrown on there, which is the big hockey where the Carolina Hurricanes play, and there's like stadiums being filled out for this, right? So for me, it's been
Yeah.
like a growing process. So I think that's something I'm really proud of to have been a part of. Is like seeing the space grow and growing with it. I mean, like I tell my wife, like I'm an internet kid. I grew up on the internet. I grew up
Right.
with esports. I started this when I was 13, 14. I'm 24 now, about to turn 25 next month. So it's I've grown with the space, and as such, I think I'm really proud of not only having been part of that growth, but also continuing to be a part of it. I do see collegiate being the next thing, and scholastic in general with K through 12 esports and youth esports being the next thing that kind of brings this space forward and kind of revives it. Right, and I think it's no secret that the esports winner, right? Everyone's talking about it. Nobody really knows where we're at with it at this point, but
Right.
I think the best way to solve that honestly is following that model of supporting Scholastic and making sure that that is taken care of and that that's supported. I think that economically speaking, sports has really benefited. Regular sports has benefited from that model, and I think esports could take a page out of that. And obviously, there's the whole argument of is esports a sport, and I'm not even
Right.
going to get into that. But I think at least taking a page out of that model, I think would be beneficial in order to achieve better economic stability.
For sure. What have you been I guess working on with the esports in the Carolinas for the scholastic space?
Yeah, so the big thing that I'm working on right now is we're actually planning, and this is in the very much like planning stages of we just announced our partnership with the Carolina Royal Ravens, which is the
Nice.
professional franchise team for Call of Duty. And with that, we're looking at different ways that we can activate them, their partners, their potential partners that they're looking at, some local businesses, like just trying to get everyone tied in together with the Carolinas and seeing how we can activate that. So, reaching out to colleges and talking to them about this partnership, seeing where maybe we can bring in some of this to not only help benefit them with bringing a pro team to their campus, to maybe a watch party or to have an event, but also seeing how we can bring some of these local partners to these different scholastic venues in order for the partners themselves to learn what scholastic is, what it means, why it's beneficial to them and to the whole space as an ecosystem to make this the new cycle, so to speak.
For sure. I've honestly during this like time of podcast and like talking to a few people is the first time I've really heard the scholastic space. I went to like a few events and they were like, "Oh, we have these K through 12 programs." But that's all we have and it's like, "But like what is that?"
Hmm.
And really hearing that, people are going to kindergartners or middle schoolers, high schoolers and they're like, "Hey, like there's this space. It's kind of eye-opening to know that there's something like that, for
Mm.
those age range. You
I
know,
think it's like been really beneficial for me being in Carolinas. North Carolina has specifically been investing a lot in scholastic esports from the K through 12 space.
mhm,
We have a whole high school league going on right now that's funded by the state, and
that is awesome.
um, it has both like an esports side of it where there's competition in Rocket League, Valorant, Overwatch, and I think Smash Bros. They have competition, but there's also a STEM side to it where they have a STEM competition that they do, whether they're like coding robots or designing websites or whatever it is.
Oh,
And both of those are intertwined, where students who want to participate in the esports side of things actually also have to participate in the STEM side of things. So they're learning skills at the same time that they're developing whatever skills they learn in esports. It's kind of like a two-sided coin for them. So that's been really cool to see, and even more so now with the state getting involved in collegiate as well. There's a lot of state grants that are going towards colleges to build esports bases to fund esports initiatives. NC State got $16 million to not only build an esports arena on campus, like an esports stadium almost,
yeah,
but also to build a mobile like gaming truck that they can take with them on the road anywhere in the Carolinas
fun.
to do that. UNC Greensboro got a couple $1 million. I myself was somebody who got one of those grants when I was at UNC Charlotte. I got $2 million for them to build an esports base on campus.
That is so
Um,
cool.
so like the state of North Carolina has been really investing into this thing because they see the workforce development that it brings. They see um the engagement that it brings for students to keep studying, to stay on this thing, to kind of be motivated because they're being involved in something that's bigger than themselves and something that, by the time that they get out of college is probably going to be way bigger than it is now. The same way
Oh,
that, when I was in middle school starting this thing,
absolutely.
uh, it grew, right? So they see the vision. It's been fun to talk to some of the state leadership about it and see that as someone who was one of the people who got those grants. I had a lot of talks with them, and they're definitely like really passionate about getting involved into this thing and learning more about it. And we're starting to see middle schools potentially get involved now, actually, in North Carolina. So it's becoming very much a standardized process here where they're trying to pipeline from middle school to high school to college and seeing how it goes.
Sure.
It's still very early on. I don't think NC State has started construction on theirs. UNC Charlotte, which is where I was at, is about to start soon. UNC Greensboro just finished their space not too long ago. And I think UNC Wilmington might also be in that mix. I'm not too sure. I'd actually tried to catch up with them not too long ago, so we'll see
That's
what happens
awesome.
there.
Yeah.
And South Carolina is also about to get a high school league, from what I understand, as well, from the same people that are doing the North Carolina one. And I think they're talking about state funding there. And I know that the state in South Carolina has been teetering to potentially invest into it. I don't know if it's happened fully yet or not. But
Mhm.
I know that that's in kind of the talks there. So it's been fun to see the involvement from the government coming down to Scholastic, and I think that I'm personally like in a good location for it to happen that way.
Oh,
That
absolutely.
there's other states like Michigan and Missouri, and I think California are doing very similar things. So it's been exciting to kind of see it happen and start getting built up.
For sure. So for like people who are, I guess, younger going into college and, they want to pursue esports, but, they don't feel like they're a pro player or a coach or, they could do media or even recruiting. For them, if they're like, let's say they're in an area that doesn't have that, what would you say to them for recruiting to pretty much get this ball rolling, that you have over there in Carolina? What would be like the advice you would give to them?
I think at this point, colleges, I think a lot of schools either have a club or a program. So I think if it's someone that's going into college that's interested into it, I definitely will do my research at the colleges that I'm interested in to see who has what.
Mhm.
There's also the potential of starting your own thing. Um, I think that the biggest thing that I tell youth aged people with esports, if there's someone who doesn't want to play, wants to do some of the behind the scenes stuff, is I think focus on the business side of it is really important. That's something that really helped me move forward.
Mhm.
Let's focus on the marketing and business side of things and growing that, because that's really what's needed at this point in esports is people who can economically benefit esports. And if you're someone who focuses, even if you're not going to be a business major, right, if you're going to be a STEM major, if you're going to be a liberal arts major or a sciences major, if you're someone who's potentially interested in even pursuing esports aside from whatever your major is, definitely spend that extra time learning how marketing works, learning how to put yourself out there, how to put your team out there. If you are going to a college who may not have something going on, which is rare these days, start a club, get students interested, show the potential that you have in starting an organization somewhere, a student organization, and growing that exponentially. I think that student leaders always get like very much in the mindset that they're, because they are students, their voices are not like, they don't matter, so to say.
Right.
It's the complete opposite. Because you're a student, you have a lot of leverage in not only making mistakes and learning these things, but also in putting your name out there and saying, "Hey, I'm a student leader for X, Y, and Z school. And I'd really love to get esports started on my campus. How do I do that? Go into your, whether it be your club sports or your registered student organizations and doing that, and then moving forward from there and talking to other students about like, hey, let's band together, let's make teams, let's make content. Go to like the different majors that exist in your school, whether you have communications majors or media majors, and talking to them about it, because people are looking to build their portfolios, build their resumes. It's a good way to professionally build yourself up, but it's also a good way to make your mark on campus. It's a good way to get your name out there. And the biggest thing is that if you understand business, you understand recruitment, um that's kind of the future of where esports is headed. Us, we're trying to recover from the economical slump.
For sure.
Organizations, businesses that are involved in esports, whether they are fully in esports or adjacent, like a tech company, esports consulting businesses that exist, right? They're all looking at people who know how to sell, people who know how to do partnerships, people who know how to do sponsorships, people who know how to do media. That's those are going to be the next people that are going to get guaranteed jobs in esports, in my opinion. In the professional world, are those who understand the business of it and can go in and translate whatever it is that their company needs into actionable items and revenue.
For sure. That's awesome. And I guess throughout this, especially for you in the esports space, you've been recognized for a few things within either the esports award or the scholars award. What was those? How did those impact your career, and like what were they?
They, I think, really, just to like, I guess I'll answer that two part with first what they were. So in 2022, we got nominated for Esports Program of the Year, Collegiate Program of the Year, for our club at UNC Charlotte. Back when I was over there, that's when I was still a in student leadership as the president there.
Hmm.
So that was really monumental for myself and for those involved, because we were the only club out of the 10 schools that were nominated. We were the only club to be nominated amongst varsity programs.
That's awesome.
That was really impactful for us, just because, for one, to be truly like transparent with you, I like knew about the esports awards for a while. I didn't know that they had a collegiate segment at all. So
Right.
um that was cool. It was definitely a rush leading up to the awards because we were trying to get our name out there. Nobody really knew who we were. People knew that there was a club in UC Charlotte, but they didn't really know what we were about. So it was trying to get our name out there, what we were doing, really putting out videos and content and marketing for this, trying to get votes. We knew we weren't gonna win, which we didn't, or even get close to winning. But we knew that this could potentially jumpstart more for us, which in turn it did. It got our name out there. People got interested in what UNC Charlotte had going on because, like I said, we were the only student led initiative that was there nominated for something.
Right.
Um, so everyone else had like funding and investment of some sort, spaces, whatever it was. We are, working with nothing but just a hope and a dream. So It was a fun time. We actually got to go to Vegas for that and meet everybody, experience everything. We got to like tour like the HyperX Arena at the Luxor. We got to go to the event
Awesome.
that was at Resorts World. Meet a lot of like pro organization owners and esports professionals. We got to meet a lot of esports directors. That for me personally jump started my love for collegiate esports and what it was about. I really got to talk to a lot of people who worked in collegiate esports, and got me interested in moving forward with a career in collegiate esports. I did my undergrad in computer engineering, so I was heading towards that. But honestly, I was a little burnt out.
For sure.
Engineering is very tough, especially computer engineering. It's always rated within like the top five hardest disciplines within engineering.
Yeah.
Um, so it's definitely a tough time there, but going to that event I think really jump started my love for collegiate esports, and then it really wanted me it led me to make the career shift, knowing that's like I was in my senior year at the time, that I was gonna shift from um engineering towards that and really try to build a career in there. It also led us to that state grant at UNC Charlotte. That was another thing, right? And then the right people got involved. Ed Tomasi, who does is one of the chairmen for Greylock, which is the Greater Raleigh area esports initiative that they have going on there. He works directly with the state on esports and funding for colleges and funding for events. He's one of the ones, that organization are the ones who bring in like all the pro events that happen in North Carolina, whether it be LCS that has happened, Rainbow Six has happened, Call of Duty has happened in North Carolina. They all work with that and they work with the state on that. So he was able to get me connected with some of the state legislature to send in a proposal to get that funding for the facility there.
Yeah.
Um, Hence why I said like the whole business thing and people should be focusing on that. That was a pitch deck, right? That was built.
For sure.
Ed was able to mentor me directly on that, and I got to learn a lot from that experience. Um, that all comes back sometime, and it benefits you greatly to be able to kind of know those skills. And then from there, we got nominated again, this time for the Scholars Awards, which was part of the Esports Awards initiative, but for collegiate only for Club of the Year. I got nominated myself for Student Leader of the Year. We also got nominated for like LAN of the Year, I think, that year. And
That's
then
awesome.
we had another nomination. We had four of them. I don't remember what the fourth was. Um, Lord, I don't know. We had student leader, we had club, we had land, we had one more. I don't remember what it was. But aside from that, we ended up winning club of the year. For that one, which was always fun.
That's
A
awesome.
lot of it was definitely a great time. We got to go back to Vegas for that, so got back to see a lot of the people that we saw in the first year that we won. It was our returning year, and we actually got to win something. So that was a fun time, and it was great. And then in between that, Esports Foundry and CCC put on another set of awards. So we also won Club of the Year for that in May of 2023, I think it was. Yeah. So um it was definitely fun to go to all those awards to get recognized like that.
For sure.
For that one, I was runner up for Student Leader of the Year as well. So I think my student leadership got capped off really well into Charlotte before I transitioned to Converse. I think that it was definitely a lot of outreach, a lot of marketing, a lot of doing cool stuff. I think that now my time at Converse has definitely shifted to more of just learning as much as I
Yeah.
can. Varsity college esports is vastly different than club esports.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
as much as they're intertwined, and so my focus very much has shifted from kind of doing whatever I can to put my name out there to more just so like laying my head low, really like trying to learn this thing and trying to figure out from an administrative standpoint how varsity esports works. I'm also doing my master's at Converse for doing my master's in management there.
That's
So
awesome.
also doing a lot of research as well on the higher education leadership, college esports leadership, college esports itself. And I'm doing my thesis on college esports, which is always fun. So
That's awesome. So
yeah,
it's pretty cool to have like something that, you were going through a burnout and then you pretty much got hit with a wave of inspiration again through, the award shows and being recognized and stuff, knowing that you're actually doing your part in the space to be recognized. To now you're like, okay, I got all this motivation. I'm ready to burn and turn. I want to learn more and grow more, and now you're like you're not in that burnout phase anymore. That's a that's like a blessing in disguise, honestly, especially through going through a burnout. Um, I guess to wrap things up, my last question would be: before esports, before the collegiate space, what would you say to your younger self, knowing what you know now?
Oh, that's a fun one. Uh um Definitely don't stop. I would tell my younger self to not stop gaming. I think that's one of it. Is I remember like I went through periods in time where I was like, maybe I'm wasting my time gaming right now.
Yeah,
So I think I always had a passion for, especially for like Call of Duty and like FPS games. I always had a passion for those. I always told myself if I wasn't like in leadership for esports, I'd be coaching in one of the FPS titles.
yeah,
Uh so definitely don't stop the passion for gaming. I think that's one. Um I think also I would tell myself to listen to my heart more just because I know even when I was younger, coming up into this, I always saw esports as a hobby and something that yes, it was a passion project and it always is going to be a passion project to me.
mhm,
But I didn't really take it serious even when I was young, right? And I didn't take a lot seriously. So I think for me being younger, definitely would tell myself to take things a little more serious and really focus on what my passions are and grow from that. Yeah.
that's awesome. Well, just know you're only 25. You have your whole life ahead of you. You know.
Oh, for sure.
Start taking names and kicking some butt. You know.
I'll try my best.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being a part of this. Where can people find you on the internet?
All my tags are the same on the internet, whether it's Instagram, X, or Twitter, whatever people call it these days, Discord, whatever it is. It's all Hispanic Phenom, Phenom with a PH. Sometimes people get that confused, but yeah, it's all Hispanic Phenom. So feel free to add me, tag me, whatever it is, and let's talk. I always love to talk to people.
Yes. And I'll go ahead and I will put those in the show notes and also in the description below, wherever you're watching this. And yeah, thank you so much for being here. And I will see you guys next Friday. Bye, guys.
Thank you for having me.